Hey there, Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Matt Norlander's here right here beside me.
Touch him.
Don't get your hands off of me. HR! If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do to that like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. If you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, please also do that while you're here. Let's get into it. The 2025 Final Four is set for just the second time ever, the first time since 2008. We're going to have all four number one seeds in the Final Four. Norlander, tell me if you recognize this phrasing. All four number one seeds in the Final Four.
Yes.
The chalk. Do you love it or do you loathe it?
No, I do love it. I do have the live chat on. People are already hoping that we will kiss because we're in person. We're not going to do that, but I'm loving this. I love to get to do a podcast with GP face to face. And actually, I'm looking at a monitor here. Do you want me to do this for you, buddy? Want me to come down just a little bit for you? A little bit.
Let's make it more billboard appropriate.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm gonna go a little bit.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm gonna get up here a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's the energy I want on this show. Okay, it's great to be with you. I have lost track of days, times, hours. I guess
today is Sunday.
Okay, it's Sunday.
It's March 30th.
It is March 30th. 4-1 seeds. You know what? I do love it, and you know why I love it is it's. First of all, I was the first to report this earlier today. Mm-hmm. You saw that, right? I was the first to report. This is the second time 4-1 seeds in San Antonio. The first time happened in 2008.
I saw you report that, but I haven't heard anybody say, like, where did it happen the first time it ever happened?
San Antonio.
And then
this one is also this one is also happening in San Antonio. You're not getting that. You're not getting this from anyone else. Okay, this is the show. This is the
Nobody
podcast.
else knows
We're
that
breaking
yet.
this.
Breaking news.
We are breaking this news to you. Okay, 4-1 seeds. In absence of Cinderella, I do really I like the storyline, and also we talked about it on HQ, and we are going to have plenty of time all week to talk about it. But it's not just the one seeds; it's the best four teams by resume, by advanced metrics. These are four of the top 10 KenPom teams ever, which to me signals we have the best Final Four ever. Never had a stronger Final Four than this, in my opinion. We can get into reasons why, and we'll probably do that even later in the week on our CBS Sports Network show and podcast. But your thoughts to having 4-1 seeds. We'll get to the games and what actually played out on Sunday, but just big picture, I assume you just can't wait to get down to San Antonio and see just must watch matchups.
Can't wait. It's going to be awesome. It really might go down as the greatest Final Four we've ever had. On paper, there's a lot of data to support it's the greatest Final Four we've ever had. And I just kind of like the way this season is all coming together. Greatest conference we've ever had. Most teams from one conference in the NCAA tournament that we've ever seen. Now maybe the greatest Final Four we've ever seen. Got two SEC teams playing each other. You've got both of the National Player of the Year candidates in San Antonio.
And the third best player in line with that Walter Clayton Jr.
So three probable first-team All-Americans. I don't know that you can do better than this. And I like a good Cinderella story as much as anybody else, I guess. Actually, that's not true. I clearly don't like.
I do.
I clearly don't like them as much as anybody else because other people hate this. I can appreciate them. But do you know how those, and I know you do, those Cinderella stories usually end with a blowout?
Yeah.
They usually, like George Mason going to the Final Four was awesome. But when you were getting ready to go to that Final Four, did you think there was any chance George Mason could win two more games?
No.
No, of course not. VCU going to the Final Four, awesome. Did you think there was any chance they could win two more games?
No, I remember you called VCU a fraud. I remember that. He was the first Tim Doyle. You don't remember that.
You will never be able to prove that. There's no video of it. My point is, those are great stories while they're happening, but they usually end with just you get smacked around by somebody who always looked like they were headed here, and you just sort of realize maybe we don't belong. There's none of that in this Final Four. There are four teams there. They are all totally capable of winning the national championship. And I mean this. I don't think there's any combination of outcomes that you could put in front of me, and I'd say that's stupid. That's impossible.
Right.
There's no way. Any outcome in the first game on Saturday, second game on Saturday, and in the title game on Monday makes sense. These are the four best teams in the country. I can't wait.
And we are going to have all week to talk about it. We truly will. I mean, Monday, Tuesday shows as we get closer to Saturday. We will dissect the Final Four matchups from every possible angle. But at least wanted to start the show here with some big tent, 30,000 foot view on this. The fact that we do get this field this strong, and a variation of ways that the teams got there. Like, I wasn't on the pod Saturday night, so real quick on my end, I was in the building for Duke beating Alabama, and Duke only playing a B-level game and beating Alabama by 20. Cooper Flagg didn't have one of the 20 best games of his one-and-done career at Duke. It wasn't even close. They continue to be dominant. They've had one of the 7th or 8th largest total margin of victory from a point standpoint of any team to make a Final Four. So Duke does it that way. And then the Texas Tech, and I know you and Chip talked about it a ton, the way that Texas Tech Arkansas itself, and some of it was Florida. Some of those shots were incredible, but the missed 1-and-1s, to me, it's just interesting how the teams got here. Auburn, and we'll get to them in a second, and Houston, the way they did it was different than how Duke did it, and was certainly different than the way that Florida did it. But in the big picture, the right 4 teams, the best 4 teams, are moving along to the national semifinals. And I do think that because it's 4 1 seeds, it's only the second time we've had it. Like, this is about as perfect as you could ask for from a college basketball appeal perspective. You've got Duke involved. Right. You've got Cooper Flagg, who's probably, I just did the story a few weeks ago on the most famous college basketball players this century. And to me, with where Cooper Flagg is now, like, he certainly feels like top 10, top 12 in that list. So he's involved, period. Kelvin Sampson and Houston, they've been a top 5 team for 5 years running here. Florida's a program that has national championships. And then Auburn and Bruce Pearl has been one of the, 5 to 7 best coaches in terms of marketing himself, his program in the sport over the past 20 years. There's just a lot of reasons to bring in the casual, so to speak. And I think that's really going to benefit. And this is not exactly a bold or spicy take. I think we are set to have this Final Four set records in terms of viewership that it hasn't seen in decades and decades and decades.
So we get this Final Four because number 1 seed Florida and number 1 seed Duke win on Saturday. Like you noted, I talked about both of those games at length with Chip Patterson late Saturday night. If you missed that, go find it, because tonight we're going to mostly focus on what happened today. We'll get to Sunday's games. We'll do it next. We'll discuss them in reverse order. But first, let's get a word from our partners. We're going to start in Atlanta. Final score, Auburn 70, Michigan State 64. So Auburn is in the Final Four for the second time in school history, for the second time in the past 6 NCAA tournaments, and Bruce Pearl is there for the second time in his career. We had talked about the Tigers probably more than we've talked about any team all season. They had separated from the pack midseason, had wrapped up a 1 seed, and then I think the number 1 overall seed still in the regular season. They take their foot off the gas a little bit, lose 3 of 4 heading into the NCAA tournament. People were skeptical that they could flip a switch and turn it back on. Mm-hmm. I understood why, but they clearly did it. Maybe they weren't as sharp as they could have been in game 1 or game 2 of this NCAA tournament, but they went to Atlanta, not too far away from their campus, and I know that the Sweet 16 game was, not quite as impressive as this one, but they jumped on Michigan State early on Sunday. And though the Spartans made it a 5-point game in the second half, it never felt like Auburn was seriously threatened, and they end up winning the game by 6. What did you make of what you saw from Bruce Pearl's team?
Impressive. Auburn wins despite 43% shooting overall. It was 7 of 25 from beyond the arc. Michigan State, 7 of 23. We know the story there all season long with MSU. But as I said on HQ, I don't even think that was necessarily the reason why they lost. It was just it was a reason compiled on other ones, and we figured that was going to play a part whenever MSU got bounced out of this tournament. Janai Broom. All right, let's get into this guy here. Because back in December.
He's a faker.
Oh, there he said it. He's a faker. He hurts his shoulder, leaves the game, doesn't return. In the moment, we're like, can he be back by New Year's Day? He plays the next game.
No problem.
Okay, and then the injury looks scary. I mean, he had, 3 parts of his body going in 3 different directions. It looked like he mouthed, and even Ian Eagle, Bird said it on the broadcast. He said, I'm done. He goes back to get an x-ray. Everything's negative. And in real time, everyone goes from R.I.P. Janai Broom to he's back in the game, grabs a 1-arm rebound. Next time down the floor, he cashes a 3. That it was the final margin was 6, but that effectively got it done. When he went out, it was, I think, 10 points. And so there was okay, maybe Michigan State's actually got a window here with no Broom. I'm thrilled that he's doing okay. But Janai, enough already, okay? You keep doing this. It was the ankle before, now the shoulder, now it's however many body parts it was. He's a faker, I guess. Yeah.
I don't mean to say he's a faker. I don't want to put labels on people. But I do think if you mouth to your teammates, I'm done, you shouldn't be allowed to come back in the game.
He might have mouthed more of us. I don't know. I was trying to read what he was saying.
He could have said more of us.
Yeah, he might have said that.
I'm trusting Ian Eagle on his lip reader. I'm not a lip reader. What
if Ian Eagle was like, I think he might have, did he just say, Bill, do you see more of us? That would have been.
Did he say more of us? And then referee's like, I always knew Janai Broome wasn't a them. That could have been really nice.
Future of the pod.
Been huge for the pod. Like, listen, they've done enough for the pod.
Yeah, that's true.
We're appreciative of what we had, but that would have been a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it was.
It was a missed opportunity. It's just, I don't know you know your body better than I know your body. You're the one that fell down and felt it. And your immediate reaction was, I'm done. It's over for me. I was like, oh, wow. Because in that moment, it does feel like they've been awesome. Mm-hmm. They're up comfortably. They've controlled this whole game. I haven't even thought in the past 5 minutes that they might not advance to the Final Four, but now their best player's out. They're playing the outright Big Ten champs. Like, this ain't nothing easy. And is this going to slip away? And before that, I even got through getting all that through my head. Janai Broome was back in the game grabbing rebounds. It keeps getting called Willis Reed.
I know.
I don't know.
Paul Pierce.
I mean, by definition,
there was no wheelchair, so the Paul Pierce stuff.
I mean, by definition, anybody can create a Willis Reed moment if you just walk to the locker room and then just come back ready to go.
I might do it on the pod before we get out of here. I might leave this show for 4 minutes and come back in.
Since you guys are so impressed by people who walk out for a couple minutes and then walk back in, watch this. I'll just unplug. And
you can. There you go. Oh, he's out. He's gone. I think you're good. Make sure you're good. Nope. You can't leave. You got to take the mic off. You can't do it. It's not as easy as it looks.
Okay, I give credit to Janai Broome.
It's not as easy as it looks.
In fairness, Janai Broome didn't have to play basketball with all these wires.
That's true. Although, you know what? To be honest, I guess I could try it, but I'll be real. We've never done this in this setting before, and I'm terrified that if one of us does it, we're not going to get back on the ship, and one of us is going to have to talk for the rest of the pod. You can handle it, obviously, but go ahead.
Let me be serious for a second.
Okay.
He was 10 of 13 from the field, 25 points, 14 rebounds, and I don't remember whether it was Saturday night or a previous night.
Time is a construct.
There was some night recently where I noted this has been an awesome National Player of the Year race. Two guys sort of separated from the pack, and neither really separated from each other. Although I thought Cooper Flagg might when Broome went out, but then turns out he never, he just didn't matter.
Correct.
He just was right back, no problem. I will tonight, just in the spirit of full transparency, we will submit our ballots for CBS Sports National Player of the Year.
Yes.
Tomorrow morning.
And our All-America teams, the whole deal.
All of it. And it'll publish later in the week.
Yeah.
I had sort of made up my mind it's going to be Cooper Flagg. That would be the ballot I submitted. And it still might be. But after what Janai Broome did in this one, and I don't mean the leaving and coming back.
No,
that adds nothing to it for me. I mean 10 of 13, 25 points, 14 rebounds against the outright Big Ten champs in an Elite Eight game. To do that on top of everything else he's done, to take this to the Final Four, it will at least make me sit down and reconsider. I've got to sit down tonight, pour a nice drink, and take a fresh look at Janai Broome and Cooper Flagg because it is very, very close. And I don't know that there's a wrong answer. Wherever I settle, I don't know that if you or somebody else settles on the opposite player, I will be able to say, I don't know what you're doing. If you told me, maybe not right now, but give me 30 minutes to look at it tonight and really dive into all of the numbers, I could sit down and make you a compelling case that it has to be Cooper Flagg. And then I could take a word from our partners, come back, and make a compelling case why it should be Janai Broome. They've both been awesome.
Your mic fell into your jacket. Let's get that clip back up. Not so easy now, is it there, buddy? I agree. I think, in fact, if these folks, Broome and Flagg, wind up splitting, there has been some rare cases over the years where we have had a single award go to two people. It's probably not going to happen at CBS Sports. Obviously, we're going to pick one way or the other with our collective voting, but I wouldn't object to it. I wrote about it in January. This has been one of the more compelling races of the year. And frankly, this can be something once we've decided we can talk about later this week on one of the shows there. I'm leaning slightly one way more than the other, but I'll save that for disclosure later this week. We got plenty of time to talk about Auburn. Let's talk about Michigan State just a little bit here. They get 17 out of Jackson Kohler, 15 out of Jaden Akins. Jace Richardson is 4 of 13 from the field, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Auburn took it took Michigan State out of a lot of what it wanted to do. Obviously, they made Cohen Carr a non-factor. Tom Izzo had himself a really, really nice year. I thought Richardson and Akins personally needed to be both pretty impactful. They were good, not great. Fears was a non-factor altogether. So a part of me wondered, all right, is Izzo really going to do this again with this group? I thought he had a chance. And then when you see the way that Auburn plays, they get it done, and great on Bruce Pearl. But in totality with MSU's season, I mean, this is a Michigan State team that was not preseason top 25. And oh, by the way, a random note about this, there still has, with Michigan State and St. John's both now losing, there still has never been a team that wasn't ranked in the preseason top 25 that wound up with a 1 or a 2 seed on Selection Sunday that made the Final Four. St. John's and MSU both qualified for that description going into the tournament, and they both failed to get there. It's a weird one, but it still, oddly enough, remains true. That being said, Izzo did a wonderful job this season. I'm interested to see what the roster will be like in 6 weeks from now. Richardson's gone to the NBA. They're going to lose a couple of these guys that were big-time factors there. What does MSU get in the portal? They have not been considered to be a team that's top 20 in NIL. And you take a look around and really what the programs that are bracing to spend GP 7, 8, 9 million overall. I mean, I got told earlier today that Donovan Dent, and more power too, no issue with me, but Donovan Dent alone, more than $3 million to go to UCLA.
Good for him.
Great for him. That's amazing. And I love that a player that's that good, who will be probably a preseason first-team All-American, is getting $3 million. That's incredible. But I'm interested to see what MSU can do moving forward. But beyond that, just thoughts on what Izzo was able to do at the age of 70 after having a team that wasn't even projected to be top 5 in the Big Ten.
Awesome stuff. Anytime you win an outright conference championship, you've done something. Anytime you get to an Elite Eight with maybe only one NBA player, you've done something. I don't believe that we're going to look up in October and be like Tom Izzo didn't have any money to buy a team.
Yeah,
I think they'll figure out a way to he'll have a roster that is talented enough to give him a shot to compete for all of these same things again. But he wears this stuff hard. Mm-hmm. He gets emotional after wins, but he also feels it after losses too. And you could see that. I think the most frustrating thing for Tom, and he could speak for himself, but they just let the game get away from him so quickly. Like they weren't in it. They just
kind of like Bama. Like Duke got out early, and it just being in that building. GP, sorry to cut you off, but we had 4 great Elite Eight matchups, and we just had a few of these where it just was not like Florida and Texas Tech was plenty enjoyable. Houston just strangled the life out of Tennessee. We will get to that in a little bit, but I thought that MSU was going to be able to really tussle for 40 minutes, and that's just not that's not what happened in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean they were down 10 minutes into it.
Yeah,
and like I said earlier, they got it to 35-30. Early in the second half, and you're like, okay, here we go. And then Auburn banged home a 3, then a bucket. That 5-point lead went to 10 again really quickly. And then it stayed there for much of the rest of the game. It got to a point where you can bang home a 3, maybe get a turnover, get a stop. Maybe you could turn these last 2 minutes into something interesting, but they couldn't do enough of any of those things. And then they end up losing the game by 6. That was a good Michigan State team that could have gone to the Final Four, and it wouldn't have been shocking. Mm-hmm. But if I'm being completely honest, I never put that Michigan State team in the same category as an Auburn or a Duke or a Houston. And then I think, regardless of what the predictive metrics said, it took Florida a little longer in my mind to get there, but they eventually got there as well, where it was just undeniable. And I thought if we were dividing the sport into tiers, I would have had an Auburn, Houston, Duke tier for a long time. And Michigan State never cracked that tier in my head, if that makes sense.
It does. I think this is the 6th or 7th 30-win season that Izzo has had. He's also had a few 29-win seasons overall. 30-7 for MSU, another Elite Eight run. Really good stuff out of Izzo. I don't expect him. This is just purely based on going to East Lansing last month, and even what he said. He told me a year ago. I think Izzo's got at least 2 more years coaching the sport. At least he did say a lot about how this group really reinforced why he loves being a coach. He can have his issues with stuff that's happening in college athletics in terms of just how unwieldy it is, but he's not spending a lot of his time griping and spending hours and hours on conference calls and trying to change that kind of stuff, because he knows that the progress along those lines is going to take a long time, and it won't be figured out until long after he's coaching. So with that in mind, I'll never be stunned, but I'm fully not expecting. If you're checking into the show and you're like, okay, MSU just lost on Sunday night, did Tom Izzo just coach his last game? I'm telling you that is absolutely not his plan whatsoever, and I don't expect that to change in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, not in his plans, but it doesn't mean his plans couldn't change.
Yeah.
Plans do change. I don't know that Tony Bennett was certain he was going to retire.
Right,
before, but he had thought about it, I know.
Yeah, he was more like, should I not? I'm going to stay. And then October came around. He's like, I can't do this.
Right. I could see Tom's mind changing, just because I could just see him getting frustrated. I could see him getting in these conversations about transfer portal.
Well, I've said this to you before. The number of times that Tom Izzo has retired at lunch and come back by dinner is countless. So that's entirely possible. Yes.
Almost every conversation I have with Tom Izzo ends up in F this. You know? It ends up there eventually, right?
Yeah.
So I could easily see him getting into this transfer portal conversation, and somebody like in this moment he doesn't even know exists is asking him for $1.4 million. And it's just like, I could see him going, all right. I see what Jay was doing. I see what Tony was doing, but he loves it too much, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And not to suggest the other guys didn't, but Tom really, this is what he wants to do. He wants to coach college basketball. The day that he stops will be the day that age or health, makes it necessary, or he has just been beaten so down by the sport that he's like, I can't do this anymore. But he will stay in it, kicking and fighting. He wants to. This is where he wants to be.
He actually put it in a tangible way for me, and then we can move on to Houston, Tennessee, if you want. I don't think I put this in my story, but he's like, it's the red eye rule. He's like, our flight situation has changed, but I still have to fly occasionally commercial and recruiting. And the second that I'm not willing to get on a red eye in California to fly to Texas or to fly to Florida to see another recruit the next morning, I'll know it's time to get out. He said, I still don't mind the red eyes. So that's just another way of putting that. In addition to the NIL stuff, just body and dedicating yourself and all that kind of stuff.
But just know, everybody gets there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it'll happen. But hopefully, I mean that, like, when he had that clip that went viral 4 or 5 days ago about, I understand why you're asking about NIL, but like, I'm not going to cheat my team. You're just hammering the dais. I love seeing that side of Tom Izzo. I love having him in the sport. And selfishly, as long as he's willing to do it, he's 70. I hope he gives us at least 5 more years.
Yeah. The sport's better when he's in it.
Yeah.
When he's got a championship caliber team in it. And both of those things were true this season. I certainly hope we get many more of him in charge. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to Houston and Tennessee. This was another one that got lopsided pretty quickly. We'll do that next. First, let's get one more word from our partners.
She knows, and I know she knows.
Final score, Houston 69, Tennessee 50. That was in Indianapolis. Kelvin Sampson is now in the Final Four for the second time with the Cougars, for the third time in his career. Total domination from Houston, held UT to 28.8% shooting from the field, 17.2% shooting from three. They were up 22 in the first half, up 19 at the break, won the game by 19. Norlander, since 1939, I gather.
Yes.
Exactly 95 schools have made at least one Final Four. Houston has now done it 7 times, and Tennessee is still stuck on 0. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Tennessee, it didn't get blanked, but it borderline was blanked in the first half. It only had 15 points through 20 minutes in Indianapolis. That's the lowest ever in any tournament game by any team that was a 1 or a 2 seed. That's what Houston did to the Vols in the first 20 minutes. They actually, I believe they played to an even number after the break overall, but they just didn't. Listen, we're going to credit Houston a ton, but I just got it. Let's just start with Tennessee. This is the nature of the tournament. There are just every year, there are really, really good college players whose final game does not, it's not even a loss. It's just the way it goes out. I saw it with Mark Sears on Saturday night, and we saw it with Zakai Ziegler on Sunday. He was not nearly as effective as he was just 2 days prior. Credit to Houston. There was a lot of that. Chaz Lanier was also off. Tennessee was 0 of its first 14 from three-point range. That really did them in. They were just the latest victim with Houston, by the way. Credit to our research department on this. Houston has, in this tournament, Houston has held every single team that it has played to at least, this is insane, at least 12 points under its average scoring. But really, overall, when you take the SIUE, the Gonzaga, the Purdue, and the Tennessee wins across the board, it's more than 20 points below their scoring average collectively that Houston did that. Rick Barnes, I think he's going to get more flack and grief again, and I don't really know if he should. Houston's insanely good. They happened to get put into they were a 2 seed, had a great season. At some point, this team was ranked number 1 this season. They get put into a region with a team that plays just like them, but like 7 to 8% better.
Right.
Okay, they get that. A year ago, they played against one of the most dominant college players of the past couple of generations, and they run into Purdue in the Elite Eight. Rick Barnes has only made one Final Four. It was all the way back in 2003 with Texas. Because of the nature of the way that Tennessee lost, I think there's going to be more like, here we go again. Like Tennessee has 31 wins. It's now tied with Xavier for the most wins in the tournament ever for a program that's never made the Final Four. I get some of it, but I think you have to take the circumstances and the context into account. And I do not fault Barnes and his Volunteers for falling short. Keep in mind, 2 years in a row, they lost to the better seeded team in the Elite Eight. They didn't get picked off early by a Cinderella. I know Tennessee fans, I know you want your team to break through. I would push back on people that are trying to get Barnes flack. It's not a great look that you got run. I understand that. But to me, it was so much more about Houston pissed off. They lost Shed a year ago, got knocked out of the Sweet 16 by Duke. Sampson has just an elite defensive team. And to me, it was more about Houston than Tennessee. But specifically, GP, when it comes to the Barnes talk, where do you land on it? Because I think collectively, I don't have it right in front of me, but I think now he's about 6, maybe 7 games over 500 in his career in the tournament.
It's well documented. Rick Barnes flames out in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Like, just do a Google search on that. You'll see a bunch of stuff pop up. And I understand it. I've read it all. I've documented it. We've talked about it on the podcast. This isn't that. I don't think.
Some people will say it is.
That's fine.
All right, I'm just letting you.
People can say whatever they want.
Yeah.
I've learned that over
I
the years.
know. I'm
learned that over the
resetting
years.
it for the listener. and
People
viewer,
can
that's
say
all.
whatever they want.
Yeah.
But what did he really do today? Yeah, got blown out. I understand that's not good. But got blown out by who? A 1 seed, coached by Kelvin Sampson, that has now won 17 games in a row.
Longest in the country.
And 12 of those wins are over NCAA tournament teams. That's who you lost. That's who took Rick Barnes out of the bracket. All right. I think it's very similar today. What happened? What happened to the Spartans? They ran into a better team. What happened to Tennessee? They ran into a better team. That's the thing when you don't get these Cinderellas. You could be the 2 seed in the Elite Eight. You might not be the better team.
Right.
That's what happened today. Michigan State was eliminated where Michigan State was supposed to be eliminated. Tennessee was eliminated where it was supposed to be eliminated. If I'm a UT fan, do I wish it would have been more competitive? Sure. But we got to the Elite Eight with a team that was supposed to get to the Elite Eight, and that's where it ended, because that's the first time we ran into a team that was better than us, supposed to beat us. Betting markets, predictive metrics, you name it. You mentioned Zakai Ziegler, the way he goes out, sort of mirrors the way Mark Sears went out.
Yeah.
These 2 great college basketball players. But that's the key. College basketball players. You know what happened to Mark Sears? He ran into NBA players.
I know what happened to Mark Sears. He
ran into
Kaman Malawat switched on the screen at the top of the key, and suddenly he looked like it was ridiculous. And that's just one of many instances. But yes, NBA players, and they played a big role. Yeah.
And okay, Zakai Ziegler, you know what happened today? He ran into the best defense in the country.
Yes.
And when you are running into a defense like that Houston defense, a defense that everything you can say about it has been said, it ranks number 1. Bobby Hurley earlier this season, after a loss to Houston at Arizona State, said it feels like there's 6 people on the court.
Yeah.
There's not, but that's what it feels like. They're awesome. When you are playing a defense like that, do you know what you need? Somebody who's just so immensely talented that they can break it down. Like, all right, set him a ball screen and let him go. those are NBA players. And Zakai Ziegler is a lot of things, an awesome college basketball player, but I think that was an obvious problem early, that whether it was Chaz Lanier, Zakai Ziegler, I mean, they combined to go 5 of 27 from the field.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was hard for them. And when everything was hard for them, everything got hard for Tennessee. But I don't put this on Rick Barnes. I mean, Rick Barnes this season coached one of the 8 best teams in the country, pretty much from start to finish. I know that lack of Final Fours for the program in history is a real thing that, Kentucky fans will bang on Tennessee about. I see some Memphis fans bang on Tennessee about. But if you're a Tennessee fan frustrated with this season, I don't know what to tell you. This was an awesome season for Rick.
Another 2 seed, 31 season, 70-year-old coach, Tennessee, Michigan State. It both applies there. And Ziegler, Lanier, Milicic, Gainey. Like, there's a big roster overhaul coming here. And again, I'm thinking and believing that Rick Barnes will come back, but I'm just wondering, are we going to be doing an emergency podcast 5 days from now, 2 weeks from now, about some coach that just, is retiring without, a little bit of a bolt from the blue? Hope not, but Tennessee will have a lot to do there, and we'll see. Houston, let's talk about the fact that they got this done. Cryer had 17, Sharp had 16. He had a couple of really big buckets. Milos Uzan was not a big-time performer statistically in this game, but he still had a lot of good moments on the defensive end of the floor. Tugler continues to be awesome, and they were even not at full strength. So Roberts, he's had the ankle issue. He played 16 minutes. Malik Wilson, would he play? He wound up playing. They get it done as well. And Kelvin Sampson, a couple of old guys got it done here on Saturday. Pearl in his 60s. Sampson up there as well, but he deserves this. I said this on HQ. I'm going to repeat it here. Houston had to beat the best team in the second round that I think any 1 seed's ever had to face in Gonzaga, a top 10 KenPom team. Then I had to go to Indy, beat Purdue in its backyard, and it got it done. Had to beat Tennessee, which was statistically and from a resume perspective, the best 2 seed on the board. Got that done. And now the Cougars, appropriately so, get afforded a chance to play a Final Four in their home state. 2 years ago, remember, that was Nance's final tournament in Houston, and they were a 1 seed. They had to play Auburn. They didn't get there. They made the Final Four in 21, but it was the COVID tournament. So a lot of Houston fans couldn't even get there for that, and they obviously didn't win it. Every team that's going to San Antonio has earned it. Maybe Houston deserves it as much or more than anyone else, considering the circumstances attached to the road to get there. Oh, by the way, they played. Shouts to David Warlock on this. He sent it out. Let me bring it up because I want to give him credit because I did not realize this in real time. Houston beat the best available seed it could have possibly played en route to making the national semis. And this is the first time since Carolina in 2017 that the 1 seed took the hardest possible seed path to the Final Four, being the 16, the 8, the 4, and the 2. Shouts to Dave Warlock. He does a great job with the NCAA. Your thoughts on the Cougs?
I mean, they won 17 straight games coming out of the Big 12.
And the one game was by 1 point. Again, I still don't think they get enough credit for how insanely.
No, they don't. They don't.
The run of dominance here since December is outrageous. It's a 1 point loss at home in OT to a Texas Tech team that very well could be in the Final Four.
And do you realize haven't lost in regulation since November 9th?
That's nuts.
That was against Auburn.
By the way, that's my national championship pick, just a reminder.
It seems totally reasonable.
Yeah.
Except for the team they have to play in the national thing.
I know. And we will I got 24 thoughts on that matchup, and we're going to maybe touch on a little before the end of the show. And then, trust me, we're getting this heavy later in the week to
they are
stage.
30.
Yes.
They're 34-4, and 3 of the 4 losses came in overtime. The only regulation loss came in November, literally the second game of the season, to the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament that is also in the Final Four. I mean, they're excellent. And but they were excellent last season with a different best player.
I know.
And excellent before that.
The different best player.
It doesn't matter. As long as Kelvin's there, it really doesn't seem like it matters. And to watch him do it with Kellen on the bench with him, which has been that way for a while, but sort of that was the image that stuck with me from the final seconds of the Elite Eight win, like Kelvin and Kellen getting to embrace and have that moment. It's just awesome. I love that he got to come back to college basketball. You told this story on HQ. You've written it before, but like the last conversation Kelvin ever had with his father
Yeah.
was, hey, you need to get back in college basketball. And that meant something to him. And you still don't know if it's ever going to happen or happen in a place where these types of things could happen. But he has taken something that I guess wasn't dead, but man, it felt like it. It felt like
Life support.
It felt like a buried, left for nothing basketball program. I mean, I would go there as a Conference USA beat writer, and there would be nobody there, and nobody cared, and they weren't any good.
But it's what you said on the desk. You're like, and I never walked into it to see it, but I can picture in my head. You're like, this is where Olajuwon and Drexler, like, this is where they played?
Because my introduction to college basketball was early 80s. That was it.
Yeah.
Phi Slamma Jamma was like something I knew when I was my younger son's age. Like, I was aware of that the way my youngest son is aware of Patrick Mahomes. I was aware of Houston basketball. And then all these years later, I'm a beat writer at a newspaper covering Memphis, and it's a CUSA game at Houston. And you walk in, it was dark and old and empty and yuck.
Mm-hmm.
That's the job he took. And to take it to this place where Houston's back in the Final Four, and it doesn't even seem weird. Houston's won 17 straight, and like, oh, wow, I guess so. Houston hasn't lost in regulation since November. Okay, I guess, okay. It's just, he has built, there's a ton of great stories in college basketball in terms of men who have built things. Scott Drew at Baylor, Mark Few at Gonzaga. But this rebuilding of Houston is one of the great stories of the past, decade plus.
Yes, and reminder, or if you didn't know, in the past 5 tournaments, these 3 programs have the most victories. Tied for second is UConn and Gonzaga with 13 apiece. Houston has 15, going to try and capture a national championship. And if you're a fan of any of the teams that are still standing in the Final Four, you've got a different reason to have optimism or something to point to about, like, yeah, the way they did that, that makes sense. With Florida, it's like, yeah, Walter Clayton Jr. has been the best guard in the country, and he made sure that Florida got past Texas Tech to get there. Auburn, I recognize that team. I remember you guys, the way they were able to do that, particularly on Sunday. With Duke, it's just outright dominance. And if anything, you have confidence. It's like, we weren't even at our best. Cooper Flagg wasn't that amazing, and we still beat Alabama by 20. With Houston, you saw the team that is able to just put teams into a headlock, a vice grip, and suffocate the life out of them. Parrish, I've seen this literally dozens of times over the past 3, 4, 5 years with this program. The one difference here being, and we'll get to this later in the week, this Houston team is so much better from beyond the arc than any other previous team. It's why they're a very, very viable national title contender. What else you got?
Just before we get out of here, let's just set the table for the weekend.
And then, by the way, weather on the 8s. I'm waiting for a weather break with you and me talking like this, dressed like this. I'm waiting for someone to. Hakeem Dermish, can we get a weather update before we get out of here? Joe Musso, I need the traffic. Let's go.
I'm just wondering what it's like back in the production room. They're like, did this idiot really just take his mic off in the middle of the show?
You're really trying to walk away.
Is he really just trying to walk off?
Broadcasting professional right here. Like, don't you forget about it.
Hold on. We're all working late tonight for this stupid podcast.
I'm just going to stop talking and try and walk off the
set.
set.
The ball guy just decided to walk out?
I actually was all for the bit, but I'm serious when I say we have never done this before, and I would be terrified over the prospect of, like, it not getting back to normal for like 5 minutes, and that would have just been a complete train wreck. So we had to sidestep it. What do you want to look at it to?
My apologies to audio. My apologies.
Shouts to Anthony, who's doing a great job along with Nada producing the show.
Final 4 tip times are set. Let me run you through them. Saturday, 6:09 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be Auburn against Florida, and Florida opened.
Oh, let me guess. And do a little Simmons here. Guess the lines. I have not seen them. Okay, so I already know. So you said Florida, right?
Open.
Okay, I will say the line is Florida -1.5.
2.5.
Whoa, okay, that's a miss by me.
Florida has opened as a 2.5-point favorite over the overall number 1 seed in this bracket. That's the Auburn Tigers. Florida, of course, won at Auburn earlier this season.
Yes.
Then at roughly 8, the time is officially 8:49 p.m. Eastern. It could slide. It could slide.
Love to slide that tip.
8:49 p.m. Eastern. Houston against Duke. That's the main event.
I'm going to say Duke. You said Florida over Auburn -2.5. I will say Duke is favored. First of all, anything in my opinion, anything more than 3 is an outright insult to Houston. I will say it is Duke -3.
4.5.
Oh, that's an absolute
Disrespectful.
That's disrespectful.
Disrespectful
that is
number.
disrespectful number. 4.5.
But in
That's
all
it. I can see it
seriousness,
happening.
in all seriousness, how great is Duke? Is that the question?
Yeah.
How great is Duke? Here's the answer.
Yeah.
Duke is so great that it is a 4.5-point favorite over a team on a 17-game winning streak that hasn't lost in regulation since November. That's how great Duke is.
This is the #1 offense against the #1 defense.
Top 2 teams at KenPom.
And it's, by the way, Duke is 1 at KenPom and Houston is 1 at Torvik. So we got a little nerd fight going on there.
And it was hilarious because Turner, CBS, even while the Auburn-Michigan State game is going, they were like, and the tip times are set.
Privately, I was like, when Duke won last night, I was
It's
like,
over.
it's
Yeah,
over.
it's
Duke's
over.
the second game.
Yeah.
It literally does not matter what the other team is. Duke's going to be the second tip.
It did not matter.
Yes.
Duke and Cooper Flagg were going to headline, but to have it against Houston and Kelvin Sampson is awesome. So as you pointed out, it's not just the 4 #1 seeds; it's the top 4 teams at KenPom. It's just awesome stuff, and we are going to start previewing it, getting ready for it in more detail on Monday at 1:00 Eastern. We'll be taking this back to CBS Sports Network.
Yes.
1-hour show.
Yes.
44 minutes of content.
That's right.
Starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, Monday afternoon.
With more to come.
On CBS Sports Network, and then we'll also do it 2:00 East. We'll do the same thing Tuesday, 1:00 Eastern, also CBS Sports
We will do the
Network.
same thing Tuesday. We will dive into all sorts of stuff with that. Whatever advances on the carousel. I refuse to talk carousel on this show. We'll get into that maybe tomorrow because I know there's been more that's happened since we last talked on that front. We have news headlines there. But closing thought for me here. It's been an enjoyable tournament. The margin of victory for the winning teams in the second weekend was actually lower than it has been in a number of tournaments. So even though you've had the better teams for the most part and the better seeds advancing, the games, they've been more competitive on average than what we've seen in recent years. I thought that was pretty good. It's been a satisfactory tournament, and now, man, we have a stage set, Parrish, where there is, as long as we don't have a situation where, Duke goes supernova or Houston does, and on the same side, and we don't have these 2 blowouts. I mean, there is to me, this is the best collection of teams we've ever had in the Final Four. And again, pretty sure I said this at the top of the show. Again, we're losing track. 4 of the top 10 KenPom teams ever are in this field. In fact, I'll give you how they rank right now. Duke is second. This year's Duke team is the second best KenPom team in adjusted efficiency margin, okay? Houston is 6 all-time. Florida is 8 all-time, and Auburn is 10 all-time. That tells me it's the best ever. And when you toss in the fact that you have Flagg, Broom, and Clayton, who have been the 3 best players in the country this season, and then by the way, you've got Houston just doing its thing. It'd be kind of an interesting twist if Houston actually wound up winning while not having a first-team All-American. It's on the table. It just makes for some incredible stuff. And again, as first reported here, this only previously happened once, 2008. It was also in San Antonio.
And it is kind of cool that we're going back to San Antonio, not because of 2008, who cares, but because San Antonio is one of the great Final Four cities.
It is.
It's just and
it's not on the books. We don't know, it should happen again, but I don't know when it's going to.
But there are sometimes you go to the Final Four, and let's just say, I don't even want to say the cities because people get really offended.
Nope, I need you to say it.
But you go to certain places, and it's like, all right, I see the signs that say Final Four, but I don't feel it. I don't really feel like there's something big happening here, either because the city's spread out and there's a bunch of stuff over here and a bunch of stuff over there. That's a good example of that. Dallas is a wonderful example of that.
Fine cities, they're just not the best Final Four cities.
Fine cities, but not the best Final Four cities.
Yes.
San Antonio is awesome. There's no way not to feel it. The second you get there, it's like, oh yeah, the Final Four's here, and
I know.
It's just when you're heading down.
I'm going to be down Wednesday. By the way, not only is it the second time we've had it, in 2008, the semifinals were on April 5th, and the title game was on April 7th. Let's check that calendar, see when these games are getting played. Time's a flat circle. I'm heading down Wednesday. Are you going to be there Wednesday or Thursday?
I'm going Wednesday.
All right. It's been a minute since you flew in on a Wednesday to a Final Four site.
Harder to get to San Antonio from Memphis than it is, some other places. Yeah.
Did you find a direct flight?
Didn't even look for one.
Okay.
Team Delta, baby. I'm going to Atlanta.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
Atlanta's the wrong way, but that's what I got to do.
Hold on. You're going to fly in the wrong direction.
I do it all the time. I do this all the time.
This is so stupid.
I fly the wrong way all the time.
How many hours are you adding to your trip?
I don't care.
You don't care. Delta for life.
Delta for
Insane.
life.
Insane decision by you. I'm literally going to fly, 250 miles in the wrong direction and double back?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It bothered me when I went to Gonzaga that I had to fly to Seattle, fly over Gonzaga just to come back and fly to Spokane. I hated that. That's nothing compared to this.
Oh, no, I do this all the time.
Oh gosh, I think I'm White Plains to Atlanta to San Antonio. Much more logical.
Hey, maybe I'll see you in Atlanta.
It's
what time? Do you know what time your flight is? We'll figure it out. Maybe
you know what? We'll figure it out. Oh, by the way,
I have just randomly run into people in Atlanta on the way to the Final Four. I think me and Dusty May sat and talked for like an hour last year.
I totally believe it. I teased something on the show last week that I didn't pay off on. Ken Pomeroy, I'm sorry. But he did give me the percentages that none and all 1 seeds would make the Final Four, so we'll pay it off here in typical flawless podcast.
I said it was clearly the number 1 seeds who had the better chance, and you argued with me.
I didn't argue with you.
You wanted to argue. Let's see who was right.
No, I think the gap that you had, I didn't agree with the gap. And shouts to Evan Miyakawa because he listened to the show and sent something as well. This is before the tournament. His percentages were 7.7% that all 1 seeds would make it. So we hit it 7.7. The percentages that none would make it was 4.9%. So it's actually not that. I know. It wasn't that big overall. But I wanted to pay. I said this on like the TV show like 5 episodes ago. Forgot to mention it. We're paying you off here. Hey, this is great. You want to just do this tomorrow?
No.
The in person is so much better. So much better. We rarely get to do this.
I didn't like my posture.
Well, I kind of like this. We got a big monitor here.
Yeah, you got a big monitor there. I can't see it.
What do you mean you can't see it?
Well, because it's over here.
Just turn around. Look at it right there.
Yeah, this is real
good. Yeah, you got nothing. I don't even know what that is.
I know that I took my mic off mid-show,
Yes.
but just know that I know what I'm doing.
Are you sure?
Despite that, I know what I'm doing, and I know that on television you're not supposed to be doing this.
Oh, yeah? Watch me.
Okay.
We're on YouTube right now. It doesn't count.
Yeah, this doesn't count. It's just YouTube.
Right. Little tie loosen. You got anything else, or are we getting out
No,
here?
I'm ready to go. Aren't you ready to go? The new episode of White Lotus is out.
Dude, I haven't even begun watching White Lotus.
It's a wild ride.
It's
a wild ride.
I know. I'm at least 2 weeks away from even starting that. It's a problem, but yeah, and I gotta get home. Oh, one more plug. If you ever read my Shire story, please do. He was awesome to talk to. Revealed some stuff that he had never revealed publicly. It is crazy to me that this guy, maybe we'll get into a little on the Monday show, but he thought he was going to get UNLV or DePaul 4 years ago. He didn't get either of them. And privately, less than 2 months later, he was told he would be the coach in waiting at Duke. And now look what he's been able to do. So maybe we talk about that on the Monday show, but I was obviously not on the show with GP and Chip late. I was up late writing that story, and he was great to talk to on that. So if you haven't read it yet, please go give that a read.
1 o'clock Eastern.
Yes.
Monday afternoon. We'll be back on CBS Sports
I'll be
Network.
in your hotel room. We got to do this again. Recreate the magic. Let's go.
I'm going to be in my hotel room.
Here, just one little finger touch. Oh, the magic.
I'll be in my hotel room. He'll be wherever he's at. 1 o'clock Monday afternoon, CBS Sports Network. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Terry Teagle's a legend. Huck, Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching, listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them.
That's right, baby. Don't you forget it. By the way, we're going to wrap. I had a BYU fan in the arena the other night said, "There's more of us." I was like, "There are." He's like, "No, there's more of us." I was like, "You're a them.
You're a them.
There's more of us."
Yeah.
So I appreciated that very much. Everyone who said hello, they listen to the pod. We appreciate you.
In fairness, like we are getting out of here, but the BYU fans, at least the ones who interact with me,
they're terrific.
They're awesome.
They are terrific.
They seem to have fun with it and laugh along with us instead of get oddly offended by two people just joking around.
I know.
As people who have to deal with folks getting oddly offended about stuff that really shouldn't be that big of a deal, we appreciate BYU fans having a good time with us.
And we'll get to weather on the 8s right after this.
All right. Bye-bye.